Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, continuing to take a look at the next week's slate and heading out to the Big 12, Texas Tech, heading on the road to play the Texas Longhorns. This Texas Tech team, 3-0 in their last three, Baron Morton back healthy, kind of a dangerous team. And you know Coach McGuire is going to have this team fired up for this one. And then the Texas Longhorns, and many Texas fans, if you guys have been listening since the summer, this team is special, like a legitimate national championship contender team in terms of the talent they have. And you look at them, 10-1, top 10 team in the country, chance to win and get into the Big 12 championship game. And the crazy part is, I don't even think you've seen the best performance and the best football of this Texas Longhorns team. And if they can get there, I mean, this is a team that there's going to be a lot of teams that don't want to see this Texas team in the college football playoffs. Really excited to get into this one. Before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys. These game breakdowns, I've had just a blast doing them. Blast talking ball with you guys in the comment section. If you do enjoy the content and you want to support the boys, consider subscribing to the channel. Again, can't thank you guys enough for rocking with the fellas. And without further ado, let's get into this one. And I want to start with this Texas Tech offense going up against the Texas Longhorns defense that a lot of the talk goes to Quinn Ewers, Coach Sark, what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball. The reason this Texas Longhorns team is 10-1 right now, yeah, the offense is good, and we'll talk about that. This Texas defense, people do not have enough respect for what they're doing on the defensive side of the ball, specifically in that front seven. And you look at the biggest matchup for this game, this Texas Tech team has wanted to run the football. I mean, Taj Brooks is playing like one of the best running backs in the Big 12, 250 carries for over 1,300 yards. He's been a workhorse. He's been phenomenal for Texas Tech. Can they get this run game going against a Texas Longhorns front seven that has been dominant against the run? 2.9 yards per carry to opposing running backs. That's top 10 in the country. You look at what they just did to Iowa State. Iowa State, for some reason, decided to talk a little smack to the Texas Longhorns on Twitter. That was probably a bad move, right? Talking smack to a guy like T'Vondre Sweat, probably not the best way to go about it. Iowa State gained 9 rushing yards total in that game. The biggest key for this matchup is Texas Tech getting that ground game going against a Texas Longhorns defense that has been phenomenal against the run. And you look at the success Texas has had and why they've been so successful on defense. They win on first and second down, stopping the run, and they get you into those third and long situations. And this Longhorns pass rush, whether they're blitzing backers, whether they're just winning with their front four, has been phenomenal. I'm going to read you guys just a few numbers from this Texas defensive line that, again, I just don't think gets enough credit nationally for what they're doing. You look at some numbers. Byron Murphy, 20% pass rush win rate, 26 quarterback hurries. For kind of a measuring stick, a 12% pass rush win rate from a guy on the inside is an elite number. Byron Murphy at 20%. T'Vondre Sweat, who I arguably think is playing the best football out of anyone on the defensive side of the ball in college football, 16.7% win rate, 20 quarterback hurries. Alfred Collins, 13%, 15 hurries. Barron Sorrell, 20 hurries. Ethan Burke, 16 hurries. Not only the amount of talent, but the amount of depth that this Texas team has in their front seven, specifically when it comes to getting after the passer, is next level. And the biggest matchup of this game is one. Can Texas Tech win on first and second down? And if they don't, can they pass protect for Baron Morton against a pass rush that has been just so dominant for the Longhorns? Now, one thing that makes Texas Tech special on defense or on offense, they got a lot of different playmakers who do a lot of different things. They got some big bodies. They got some serious speed on the outside. 7 total wide receivers have caught for over 200 yards for this Texas Tech team. 3 of those have gone over 400 yards. Just a lot of different playmakers that you have to account for in that back end. The Longhorns dealing with some injuries back there. Can they kind of exploit some spaces in that Texas secondary? Massive storyline there. Now flipping to the offensive side of the ball for the Longhorns, going up against a Texas Tech defense that it's not putting elite numbers up, but it's been pretty solid, especially the last couple of weeks. I mean, it's been a credit to Coach McGuire and what he's doing with this defense and with this team the last couple of weeks. And the defense has played pretty solid, 26.4 points per game, 62 in the country, 5.4 yards per play. That's 56 in the country. But again, the last couple of weeks, they've been playing their best football. This Texas offense, and this goes back to if you want to win a national championship, the Longhorns need to take just that next step on the offensive side of the ball. And I think a lot of Texas fans would agree with that. Simple things like finishing drives with touchdowns, not settling for field goals in the red zone. And again, you're nitpicking because this Texas team is so talented. 33.1 points per game. That is 21st in the country. Again, few of those games without Quinn Ewers as your starting quarterback. 6.3 yards per play. That's top 20 in the country. This Texas offense, don't get it twisted. It has not been a bad unit. I think a lot of Texas fans would agree it can take that next step. And you look at what they're doing on the ground. You obviously lose Jonathan Brooks, just a heartbreaker with the season that he was putting together. True freshman CJ Baxter, and he's a guy that we talked about last week in terms of I think he can be really good in that workhorse mode because he's a guy that they were kind of using to spell Jonathan Brooks earlier on in the season. With Jonathan Brooks going down, CJ Baxter is now the bell cow in that backfield. And he's a guy that just gets better as the game goes on. You give him more touches, grinding down defenses. 20 carries for $117 against an Iowa State defense that is really, really good. Nice performance out of the true freshman. And then in the passing game, you're just looking for Quinn Ewers to get back to that rhythm, right? He's obviously coming back from the injury, getting his feet wet. So many playmakers on the outside. I really like what they're doing with Xavier Worthy. I feel like they finally figured out just we're getting the football to him any means possible. Like those end of rounds, I know we fumbled it, but he's a guy that should have went for a touchdown. You get the ball into Xavier Worthy's hands, good things are happening. A.D. Mitchell, a guy that he is one of the more special wide receivers in the country from a talent standpoint. And then a guy like Jordan Whittington. He someone that kind of gets overshadowed, had a massive game against Iowa State. Obviously, JT Sanders as well. The offensive line has been phenomenal. Quinn Ewers continuing to kind of get that chemistry back with some of these pass catchers. A massive storyline. Moving the football hasn't been the problem for the Longhorns. It's been the two things. One, that killer instinct. Like when you are up 2 scores in the second half, can you put teams away? Because so many times you look back to some of these games, I mean, you're jumping on TCU up 3 scores and you let them back into the game. Jumping on Kansas State at home, up 3 scores, letting them back into the game. Can you have that killer instinct where you're up big and then you put teams away and it's not you're looking at the box score and it's 1-score game in the fourth quarter? That's kind of the story for Texas. And again, partially, it's just finishing in the red zone. I mean, you settle for as many field goals as the Texas Longhorns have. That's why you're in so many tight games. You are moving the ball consistently on the offensive side of the football. You got to be able to score touchdowns. That's how you put these teams away. No doubt Coach Sark has circled that as something they need to clean up. And again, if you want to not only win the Big 12, but be that team to beat for a national championship, putting teams away, scoring in the red zone, a massive storyline for the Longhorns. Getting to the pick here. Texas Tech heading on the road, 13.5-point underdogs. I don't love betting against Texas Tech when they're this big of dogs because Coach McGuire, especially the last couple of weeks of this season, this Texas Tech team has looked really good. I think the matchup is tricky, and I'm going to ride with the Longhorns. Texas Tech wants to run the football with Taj Brooks. I don't see them having a ton of success running against this Texas front seven. And when you are consistently in third and long situations with this Texas Longhorns defense, it's going to be tough sledding because that front seven can really get after the passer. And on Texas, on the offensive side of the ball, you just got to trust that they're going to kind of score touchdowns in the red zone and put teams away. And if they do that, it's hard to see the Texas Longhorns not winning here. I'm going to take Texas, 13.5-point favorites. Give me them to cover that number. This is going to be a good one. We'll recap it probably Friday night. Texas fans, again, appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.